studio rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me, cause she got a bad little waist. And we tearing down this place, off the liquor that we chase. Casamigos to the face, baby I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite fight scenes. And joining me today is Robert Clancy, from the host of Mindset Reset Show.
Yes, so we're going to get right into this. These are 4 epic Hong Kong movies, and we're going to start with Yes, Madam. I believe this is your first film. How did you actually get the part in Yes, Madam?
Well, actually, it kind of just came to me. I was training with the West Coast demonstration team, and Corey Yoon was in LA, and he was looking for a guy. He was looking for the next Bruce Lee. So he called the West Coast demonstration team, because the guys were phenomenal on the team, and said, hey, bring all the guys down. And Ernie Reyes said, well, should we bring the girls? And they went, yeah, but they're really looking for a guy. So we all went down. Corey Yoon saw me. I did some form, fighting, self-defense, weapons, and he said, I want the girl. So he went back and they signed me up.
Well, that's awesome. So they weren't looking for the next Bruce Lee. They were looking for Cynthia Rothrock.
Oh, well,
and they found her.
Came.
Yes. And so how long did it take to shoot the fight scenes in the airport? I mean, that's just a great scene. And you do this wall jump in there too, and a couple of other amazing kicks. But how long did it take to film all of that?
I think the airport scene was quite short. We did that, I think, in 3 days, and we did it at nighttime. We had a certain time when, the airport was pretty much closed. So we were there somewhere maybe from midnight to 5 a.m.
Yeah, and I heard that the director, he kept, it was a Korean, kept telling you to hit harder, and then the stunt guy there was saying lighter.
Yeah, that was my first scene I shot, so I didn't really know anything about filming. And I remember I had to hit Eddie with an elbow from behind, and Corey kept saying harder, harder, and he's in my ear going, not so hard, not so hard. And I didn't know who to listen to. I was like, oh geez, I don't want to hurt him, but this is what the director's telling me to do. So I kind of did it halfway in between.
That's awesome. Now you have about, I think, over 60, 65 maybe films to your credit. How do you compare the Hong Kong fight choreography with films you've done in the United States?
Well, I would say the Hong Kong is a little bit more elaborate. They don't really care how long it takes you to rehearse it or to get it down, and they shoot a long time, because timing is not really an issue over there. When I was shooting Hong Kong movies, when you're shooting in America, it's really quick. I mean, sometimes you have to shoot the fight scene in 20 minutes, so you don't get the coverage, and you don't get the stunts, and you don't get all the complicated things that you have in Hong Kong movies.
Yeah, I know there's just a precision to the fighting and the choreography in those Hong Kong films that I don't think it's second to none. I mean, really, it's just amazing what not only what you put on film, but what they got you to put on film. And speaking of that, there's this wall vaulting scene where you go off the pole, you're fighting with the staff, and it's at the epic ending battle here. And how did you achieve this? Sticking to the wall and you come off of that.
Well, that's one of my favorite scenes. I mean, that whole ending took 30 days to shoot. That was a long one, and it was really rough. Everybody was hurt and had bruises. But the wall scene, Corey Yoon said he knew I could do a split. So he's like, well, we're going to do a split on the wall. And I'm like, oh, how am I going to do that? So how I did it is I had a stick, and I did an aerial off of the stick, like a cartwheel. And I would just hit my leg to the wall, and then they'd cut it. Then they put a little ledge on the wall, and my foot was on it, and then my other foot was hanging over my head. So if you can imagine, I was bent. And then on action, I brought my foot up to the wall. They had a wire around my waist, and that pulled it from behind. So I was stuck on the wall, and I was up there for quite a long time. And I remember I was like, I could do this, even though my legs were shaking, everything. I think I was there for probably about 2 hours. And I remember the actually 3 days, I couldn't walk too well.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could stay in a split wire to a wall for 2 to 3 hours.
I was new to filming and I just wanted to do everything they said. And they said, hey, you can come off the wall while we get ready for, the next shot. And I was thinking, oh yeah, that's not going to take long. I'm like, oh no, I'm okay. I could be up here. So it was actually kind of my own fault that happened.
Yeah, there seems to be also just with Hong Kong films in general, this guys that they do not have the same safety standards that we do. For example, here in the United States, were there any injuries on set, and did you get injured while filming this?
Yeah, I did. I got hit in the head by Dick Way and blood was coming down from my ear. It was the first time I almost passed out. I thought I was dying. They took me to the doctors and the doctor said, oh, he hit you so hard, he split your internal ear open, but I can't do anything because it's in deep. So go back to the set and continue filming. So that I remember the scene where the guy in the end is falling from the balcony through the glass to the fountain. He got hurt a little bit on that. And I think, people have just had tons and tons of bruises. And since this was my first movie, I didn't know about wearing long sleeves. I did in the end. I kind of finally caught on, but a lot of the fight scenes, I was like bare armed, and yeah, my arms were literally black from that fighting.
Yeah, there's a scene where a guy goes off a balcony and hits like a bar with his back and then falls. And some people thought that was just a rag doll or something being thrown up there, but that's actually a real guy, isn't it?
Yeah, that was. And yeah, luckily he only had to do that one time, but he did get hurt on that. He was fine afterwards, but he did, take a pretty hard hit.
Wow.
And I've had stunned people in LA look at that and say, that was not a real person. I'm like, yes, that was a real person. I was there.
It hits his spine. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And that this guy actually threw himself off to do this. In your epic fight scene with Dick Way, you just mentioned, you unveiled, I think this is the first time that everyone's seen your scorpion kick. And I looked a little closer at the footage here, and I don't think that's Dick Way there. I don't think he took the kick. I think he had a stand in. Did he say, I'm not doing that kick to my head?
Yeah, especially after he kicked me and hurt me. You didn't want to be on the other end of my kick. So yeah, they did have a stunt kick. But how that came about is Corey Yoon said, do you have any favorite moves that you really like to do? And I'd like to add that in. And I showed him that and he was all excited. He goes, oh yeah, we got to put that in. So that's how that got in there.
Yeah, and were there any language barriers on set? You coming in fresh, I'm sure you don't speak Cantonese. From what I've heard, I don't think you do, and I think they dubbed you. But how did you handle all the direction for this?
It was hard at first. The only one, well, Michelle, she spoke English. So, we became quite good friends and she did a lot of translating for me. But more or less, after that, I've learned to kind of have a sign language. So it was funny. After I did Yes, Madam, if we would have foreigners on the set that didn't speak Chinese, they would call me as the translator. And I didn't really understand what they were saying, but I knew from their expressions and their movements of what they wanted to get from them. So I became a translator, but didn't even know how to speak Chinese.
Well, you mentioned Corey Yoon a few times, and we're going to move into righting wrongs, which is also above the law. And it depends on what market you're from. And I believe he was director on this film as well. And this is the first time you're working with Yun Bu. And how was it to work with him?
I love working with Yoon Bu. Actually, I'd love to do another movie with him. I'd like them to do a part 2 of Righting Wrongs. But for me, fighting Yoon Bu is probably, I would say, one of the best fight scenes I've had with someone, not choreograph wise, but because our timing was very similar. It's very easy to fight with him. We kind of had the same kind of movement, the same kind of fluidity, same kind of power putting into it. So it was really, really easy to fight with him. Sometimes you fight with someone that's, a little stiffer, a little harder. Your timing is maybe they're faster, maybe you're faster, but we kind of synced in all the movements. So that's why I always say he's like one of my favorite people to fight with.
Well, it was definitely captured on camera. I absolutely love the fight scenes in the house. And this leads up to this railing, where you get handcuffed to the railing. And he jumps off of this. And I think if you look closely, they have some like slight padding there, but I believe that he got injured on this jump. And that was actually him that jumped off the railing, correct?
Yeah, it was. And actually what they did is they cut the grass and they took a big square of it out and they just put a little pad down, like just those little, karate pads that you see in schools. They put that down. He jumped, and when he landed, yeah, he like landed really good, but he hurt his back. So his back was sore for a while after that. I think it's just the jolt coming down kind of just, compressed everything.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a shock. I mean, he went off a second story balcony down. God
Yep.
bless him for that.
Oh yeah.
So there's multiple endings for this film. How did that come about?
Well, it ended where we all got killed. I got the little, whatever it was, the tool in my throat, and he falls from the plane and dies. And then they showed it in Taiwan, and the Taiwan people were booing it, saying, no, we don't want them to die. So I was shooting China O'Brien, and I get a call from Yun Koi saying, you have to come back to Hong Kong. We have to reshoot the ending scene. And it was no problem because Golden Harvest was doing it, and also Golden Harvest is doing China O'Brien. So I was able to do that.
Well, worked out. I think there's a slightly different hairstyle possibly in there, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
speaking
So
of,
now you can get that DVD, and they have the new Blu-ray version, and they have both endings on it. So if people only saw one, now they have the chance to see two.
that's great. We'll have to get a link to that in the description on the video here. Also, so we're going to move into, speaking of hairstyles, I believe this title comes from your hair, the Blonde Fury, and there's this whole fight scene that happens on this scaffolding, and the scaffolding looks really sketchy. Did you have safety concerns while fighting on this?
Yeah, I did, because I was up quite high on the buildings fighting, and that basket had a hole in the bottom. So I had to keep my feet on the edge of the basket, because if I would have put my 1 foot down, or actually, God forbid, my 2 feet, I would have fell through the bottom. And I don't know why they didn't fix that. They never really showed it, but the stuntmen were holding the basket up by a rope that you couldn't see. And I just remember kept saying, make sure you pay attention. Don't sneeze, don't fall asleep. Don't, make sure you do not drop me, because my life was technically in their hands. But it was awesome fight scene. I mean, I love that fight scene. It's so, it's so awesome and so complicated and so hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's got so many different moves in there, and you do amazing, at least working with the scaffolding and jumping from tier to tier on that. So they must have known when they pulled this basket out that you're a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and maybe that's where you got your zip lining skills from.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why after I stopped doing Hong Kong movies, I went into extreme adventure. I kind of missed the Hong Kong action.
Well, I see, also this is probably the first time I think that you've worked with Vincent Lin and Jeff Falcon, and they bring in this giant net for you guys to battle on. How was it to work with this net? Was it difficult to fight on this?
Yeah, it was very difficult. At first I thought, wow, this is going to be fun, and the rope was actually really hard. I had to put pads all in my pants, because every time I'd hit against it, I would get a big bruise, and like it was like a brush burn on it. And on that one there, one of the stuntmen that I kick, and he goes through the ropes, he broke his leg on the rope. And when it's up really high to the ceiling, one of the guys actually fell down to the truck, and he had some serious injuries, and it was very dangerous. A lot of the times we were wired on there, and then sometimes we weren't. And again, another brilliant fight scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you guys were able to do, and that is some serious acrobatics on that. I mean, just how you fought, and some of the kicks you're kicking through that rope. Toward the end of this, Vincent Lin and you are fighting in between these crates, and I think Vincent takes one for the team. I think he improvised his own safety measures there. What's the backstory there?
Yeah, I had to kick Vincent in the groin. And remember, this is Corey Yoon directing, so he wants you to make contact. So he's like, I don't have a cup on, and they didn't have one there for him. So what they did is they gave him a roll of toilet paper to stuff it in his pants. So that was like his protector there. He must have had like 2 rolls of toilet paper there, although it wasn't, I don't think it was that easy when I hit it, because it was soft, and but Literally, Vincent is still a friend of mine today. Yeah, and I tell you, that fight scene was very complicated to do because we were in such a narrow space of two big metal containers, So, I mean, let alone just walking through it was hard, but doing a fight scene in there again from Corey Yoon's incredible imagination to do that fight scene there.
And also the execution from both of you in pulling this off, I mean, just amazing. I mean, hats off to the amazing martial arts work that you guys did there. Speaking of that, you have another friend, Richard Norton. So we're going to move into Magic Crystal. And I know he's been in a number of films with you, including China O'Brien 1 and 2, Rage and Honor, and also your signature film, Lady Dragon. And you have this amazing chemistry together. Did this develop naturally from just working together and fighting together?
Yeah, we didn't know each other until I think the first time we met was on Millionaires Express in Hong Kong. And then we've just done a lot of movies together. And even like today, we're best friends. And we did so many movies together. We were known as the Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers of martial arts because we worked well together. And I think what happened is people kept hiring us together as a team because they knew that we would make money for them, that it was a good combination, Cynthia Rothrock and Richard Norton. And I always liked fighting with Richard because we could fight really hard. He never held back on me and I didn't have to hold back on him. So the fight scenes were always downright tough and dirty.
Now, both of you, from what I've heard, have had injuries coming into this film. I think you had some problem with one of your right leg, which is your dominant leg. So how did this work through this film?
We both had injuries. Like I blew out my anterior cruciate ligament right before I had to do the movie. And he actually got cut in the Philippines on a rock and had a big infection in his leg. So, but continuing on into Magic Crystal, a couple movies later, I never had my anterior cruciate ligament fixed. So sometimes it would just go out. And we were doing the scene out in the courtyard in Greece with the spear. And as I was doing it, my knee did it again. I injured it again. And I remember when I was doing the spear, I was supposed to like go to the guy's face and he was going to avoid it. And like when it did it, it just shocked me, the pain. And I stabbed him in the with the spear. He didn't get hurt, but I was like, oh my gosh, you should leave that in there because it was so natural, but they didn't. They actually reshot it again where I was coming at his head. But I had to do that whole fight scene when I couldn't even really walk on my knee, but it just shows you, mind over matter. You could do, whatever, you tell your body to do.
Well, your spear work in this, scene is amazing. And it's just the first time that you've used this weapon on camera?
Yeah, I believe it was. I like doing Magic Crystal because I got to use a lot of things that I never did, a lot of weapons. I was using the broadsword. I was using, I think I used the straight sword, the spear, praying mantis techniques that I've never used before in a film. So I used eagle claw movements. And actually this came from, they said, again, do you know some animals? And I just came back not that long ago from studying in mainland China. And one of the sets I studied over there was the eagle. So when you see that beginning of the eagle like going up, that's traditional Chinese eagle form.
Oh, wonderful. And there's also a little bit, because you mentioned a couple of things. One, the injuries on set. So actually there's another one that occurred with Richard Norton, and you mentioned the swords. I think you gave him a scar to remember you by on this film. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were working for, over 24 hours. Like, because when we were shooting in Hong Kong, there was no such thing as like, hey, after 12 hours, you stop or you get overtime. You just shoot until you can. And we were both really, really tired. And we were fighting. I was fighting him with the sword and he was supposed to duck and he didn't duck. And I hit him in the eyebrow and he had to get like, I don't know, like I think like 12 stitches over his eye. And like the same thing that happened to me, you go to the doctor, they stitch you up and they're okay, back on set. So he came back with his eyebrow all stitched.
And they had a stand-in, I think, a guy,
Yeah.
stuntman dressed up as him for a little bit there too, didn't he?
Yeah, you could see if you freeze frame that's not Richard, and that's because he was off in the hospital, like getting stitched up.
Was there ever any payback for this?
Oh, many. Yeah, Richard's hit me many times.
I'm sure every time he looks in the mirror, he's like, Rothrock.
Oh, yeah.
Tattooed on his head.
Yeah, well, I've taken quite a few heavy blows from him as well.
All right. Well, fair is fair. There's also, you mentioned the praying mantis. So there's a very interesting fight scene where you use this praying mantis form. And was this your idea to bring this into the film?
Actually, no, it wasn't. It was the choreographer. He wanted to do different animals. And I knew praying mantis, but I didn't really study it. But when you study martial arts for so long, it's very easy for me. Just show it to me and I can do it. So it came out pretty good for not studying mantis, knowing it. And I remember that was that one where I hit Richard Norton with the thumb in the temple, and he's like, oh, that's not going to knock me out. That's not going to hurt. But you know what? That does hurt when you hit someone like right there yourself, even in the temple like that. So it was the infamous thumb to the temple.
Well, this has been an amazing discussion on these films, and just want to thank you for sharing all of your insights and some of the backstories on these amazing films that you've put together.
Yeah, thank you. It's always good to reminisce about the Hong Kong days, because they were some of my favorite movie making days. All right, well, everybody, well, thank you for joining in. Remember, if you have any questions or anything that you would like to see, just give me a shout out. And until next time, stay safe, God bless, and we will see you on the next video. Hi, this is Cynthia Rothrock. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. And if you like the videos, please put a like on it and refer it to your friends.